7:16 is 16 minutes after the hour, 7 o'clock, and two of the best Michaels I know, Paul and Guest, together on the air.
Good morning. Congressman Michael Guest, it's always a pleasure to have you, sir, and the studio audience has gone wild. They couldn't believe that we got you this morning, so thank you for joining us.
Look, it is great to be back in Mississippi, great to be talking to you today, and great to be out of the heat from the Neshoba County Fair from a long day yesterday.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that because I knew yesterday your staff had told me you were there. You were going to be speaking at the Neshoba County Fair, and I've been to one of those, and that ain't an exactly cool day in Neshoba County in July or August.
That's right. And look, next year they're going to move the fair up. With school starting earlier and earlier, they're looking at moving the fair. So I hope that they move the fair to maybe springtime, maybe April, May, 1st of June would be a great time. So, look, that is a great event. It's so fun to go to the fair. You get to see the same people year after year. You get to go by and visit so many people that have family and cabins there, and they're warm and they're receptive, and they'll bring you in and they'll feed you and they'll give you a glass of sweet tea or lemonade and let you soak up some of their air conditioning. So I enjoy going every year, but this year I did get to speak. Normally we're in session, and so I'm not able to speak at the fair, but was able to speak and got to talk about some of the great things that Republicans have been doing for the last 6 months in Washington under Donald Trump's leadership.
Yeah, well, that's something I was going to ask you about, too. Give us an update on some of those things that are happening in Washington because of Donald Trump and the Republican Congress.
Look, Donald Trump, when he was elected, he has been able to come in and he's been able to move Congress forward. And I know it seems like Congress moves slow, but I can promise you that we have done more in these first 6 months of the Donald Trump administration than we did under 4 years of the Biden-Harris administration. And so two big pieces of bills or legislation that I know we've talked about a good bit versus the one big, beautiful bill, which encompassed so many wins for the American people. When you look at that, that is a single piece of legislation, but we have in there tax relief. We were able to extend and expand the Trump tax cuts by passing that piece of legislation. What Congress did is we protected lower tax rates for everyone making $12,000 or more. We also made sure that we prevented the child tax credit and the standard deduction from being slashed in half. We expanded the Trump tax cuts by including things such as additional protections for seniors. Hourly employees who work overtime, they're now going to be able to keep more of their hard-earned money. The same thing with people who were compensated by way of tips. And so we put some great tax policy in place that are going to have some long-term impacts that are going to allow more Americans to keep their money. We helped secure the border, and I say help because President Trump secured the border when he came in day one, when he surged resources, when he ended the catch and release program. But we do have additional funding in the reconciliation bill for 700 miles of border wall, 900 miles of river barrier, 3,000 new CBP agents, $3.5 billion to put toward technology. We've made a substantial investment in our military, a generational investment, if you will, that's going to not only increase the pay of our service members, but is going to secure our military's future going forward to make sure that they are the premier fighting force across the globe. And then, look, Republicans have grown the economy, and that's one thing that we should all be thankful for. If you look at the economy, the state of the economy right now, and again, this is only 6 months into Trump's leadership, inflation down, mortgage rates have begun to fall, the stock market is at an all-time high. We know that last month the job market added 147,000 new jobs. GDP numbers came out just yesterday, and they showed a 3% growth for the second quarter, well exceeding the expectations of many of the financial experts. And so, look, I'm bullish. I'm excited. Trump has done an amazing job. Congress has been able to help codify some of the changes that he's made. The one big, beautiful bill, the rescissions package, clawing back $9 billion. the fact that Republicans have identified $190 billion in unnecessary spending through the DOGE efforts. Those are things that all Americans should be proud of, not just Republicans, but all Americans should be proud of the direction that the country is trending at this point.
You know, there's a few things out there that I'm thankful for. Number one is PBS, NPR, whatever. It's the organization that is television and radio across the country that was a part of that rescission package. And I can tell you that, you know, local radio stations are here in Mississippi to take care of any of the problems, because I know some of the Democrats said people won't get alerts. I mean, we've got PBS here in Mississippi. We have Mississippi Public Radio, and yes, they provide alerts and things of that nature, but so do we. I mean, there's so much coverage from other stations. There's no reason to support with taxpayer dollars a radio station. We don't get supported by it. We'd like to. Why don't you introduce a bill to help local radio stations? I mean, it's crazy that we have to compete with them. And if you ever go to a Mississippi Public Radio facility, Congressman, they've got the very best equipment, the most beautiful studios. Everything is unbelievable. And so, you know, I'm not against that at all. I'm thankful that happened. And I'd like for that to continue to happen. No funding for PBS. But one of the other things you mentioned, seniors relief. Now, there was a discussion about the big beautiful bill that seniors were going to not pay taxes on their Social Security. That didn't happen. What kind of relief did they get?
So there's going to be an additional deduction for seniors when they file their income tax. And so there's a report that was issued that shows with the increased deduction that seniors will be able to take, that roughly 88% of all seniors will not be paying taxes on their Social Security. That was the report that I've seen. So it didn't go as far as many of us would have liked. We would have liked to have just put a blanket no tax on Social Security and say that no seniors have to pay any taxes on their Social Security. But except the very high earning individuals, those people that have additional revenue coming in everywhere else, the report that I've read shows that, again, 88% of seniors now will not have to pay taxes on their Social Security. And I say not. They'll have to pay them, and then they'll be able to get those taxes back when they file their taxes. But ultimately, those tax dollars will be refunded back to most of the seniors who are currently collecting Social Security.
I got you. That's good news. And look, continue to work on that, because our seniors, and in fact, so many seniors you see are still working because that they can't get by on what Social Security, you know, gives them. So that's something that really needs to continue to happen and continue to work on. I wanted to talk about also, there was some big news out of the EPA. The first one was the gas can. Congressman Ezell sent me last week looks like a deregulation order for the gas cans. You and I have talked about it before. I bug Congressman Ezell every time I see him or talk to him about gas cans. Apparently, he had something to say in a committee meeting that sort of nudged this into the deregulation mode. That's good news. Also, the EPA is repealing core greenhouse regulations. Tell us what you know about that.
Yeah, again, particularly as it relates to the greenhouse regulations. I mean, these are things that have been pushed under the prior administration, the Biden-Harris administration. They didn't care about energy security. They were just concerned about green policies. And many of those policies we know drive up cost. Many of these initiatives were ineffective. Many of them were just a waste of taxpayer dollars as we tried to subsidize industries that really were never going to be successful. And look, one of the things that the federal government has been for it doing, or that we do over and over that we really shouldn't do, is subsidize industries. Things should be competition based. We live in a fair market economy. You talked just a few minutes ago before we switched topics about PBS and NPR that they were subsidized news stations. The only way they were able to, in many cases, continue to exist is not because they were competitive and they were out there competing in the marketplace, but because they were getting federal funding to subsidize their efforts. And that's exactly what we saw with many of these green energy projects, many of these regulations. They were put in place so to make it harder for some industries to compete. We know that the prior administration, they were pushing renewables. They wanted everything to be solar and wind. And look, solar and wind have a component in our energy generation scheme, but they should not be the primary component. And so we've begun, Congress, particularly the EPA and others under the Trump administration, have begun to roll back some of these rules, some of these mandates to make it easier for more people to compete. And really, I think that's going to help continue to turbocharge the economy as people are going to be able to rely on things such as the internal combustion engine, which has been so transformative over the years. And they're going to be able to have options to go out and they're going to be able to buy a car from their dealer. And it's not going to have to be a battery-operated car. They're going to be able to buy the car of their choice. And so this administration is, again, rolling back all or many of the harmful regulations put in place over the last 4 years, everything from vehicles to, as you said, down to gas cans. What can we do to get back to common sense governing, not being governed by people who want to try to dictate to the American people that they know better than we do?
Amen. Regular order. We got a couple of minutes left. I wanted to talk to you because you and I have discussed this before. You would love to get back to regular order where you have those appropriation bills. You have all the different bills that come through. It looks like appropriations is going to be tough this year because Democrats are not going to help you one bit. There's going to be a fight. Tell us what you know.
Yeah, and so when we come back in September, Congress will be laser focused on passing government funding. Government at the end of September. And so we've got a month to get back and either put some sort of patchwork in place by way of some sort of temporary CR to give us some additional time to work on the appropriations bills, or we've got to get appropriations bills passed. The goal is to pass appropriations bills. I sit on the appropriations committee, so I more than anyone else want to make sure that the appropriations bills are passed. We put a great deal of time and effort, and particularly since Republicans have control of the House and the Senate, we're able to write that legislation. We're able to not only set the funding levels, but we're also able to put in there certain riders which have very conservative impacts. And so we want those funding bills passed. We don't want to see a long-term CR. But you're exactly right. To pass those funding bills, unlike the budget reconciliation, which only required 50 senators to pass it, you've got to get 60 senators to vote on it. And so we know there are 53 Republican senators. That means that you have to get a minimum of 7 Democrat senators who will vote for those appropriation bills. And that's going to be something that we're going to have to really battle. The Democrats have seemed to have lost every time that they've challenged the president, whether it be the reconciliation bill, the rescissions. They lost on government funding the first time. We know that they are routinely losing when they are challenging the nominees of the president. I think this is where, from what I'm hearing and what I'm reading, that the Democrats are going to kind of plant that flag to try to challenge the president. And I think the Democrats are very serious when they say, that where they're going to try to actually hold the American people hostage and hold our funding hostage if they don't get certain things that they're asking for. So I think we're going to be in for a fight. I look forward to updating you and your listeners on what we're going to be doing in Washington once we return.
Fabulous. Thank you so much for joining us, Congressman Guest. We appreciate you so much, and we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, thank you, my friend.